I expected you to be polite and courteous enough. There are some dialogues that I met and I had to comment and then tell the students that you are not respectful to your parents, okay, because of the way you answered. But I knew deep down in me, I knew it is not what you meant. It was just you were short of words to say. You did not actually know how to come up. So here, and some of you think that when you use the word please, you have already been polite. But the tone matters. Somebody says, please, can you allow me? Can someone open the door? Oh. The door for me, something like that. But what if you had said, what if you had said, may I come in, please? Or may you let me come in, please? What if you had said that? I would believe that that is more polite than you just saying, please, can someone open, as if you left somebody, you know, somewhere ready to open for you the door, or you have employed somebody. But here, you need to be a little polite in your speech. And remember, you're the one who has come in late. So you cannot begin shouting for people because you want the door to be opened for you, or because you, I mean, whatever the case or the reasons you have. So we are looking at, even if you've come, now here, this we can relate even to the class. You've come into class late, and you know the teacher is already in class. And then you come at the door and you say, please, I want to come in. I mean, that's not being polite. Even when you've used please, just say, may I please come in? Something like that. May is very important here. It is very important. It's a modal verb, which is very important. Okay? Can, yes, can is also a modal verb, but there are times when you use it and sounds like you're commanding. For example, here when somebody says, please, can someone open the door? I mean, the tone, and maybe it will depend on the tone that you're using, but it is more or less of commanding when it comes at this time, okay? So I also expected people to refer to their parents, especially many of us used names. You had to refer to your parents by Mr., let's say Mr. Kato. But some of you didn't know what you did. You came here and said Kato, and then you put in brackets, father. Of course, I have seen that Kato is your father. But I expected you to come here and put Mr. Kato. I mean, give some respect to your parents. Then here, somebody comes and says Doreen. And then puts in brackets, mother. And then as he continues to write, because I told you, of course, this you use it once, continuously use the Doreen, Doreen. I mean, why don't you say Miss Doreen? Learn to respect your elders. Learn to respect your parents. Learn to respect anybody, at least who is kind of above you, especially in authority. Give them a Mr. or a Miss or a Mrs. That is if they're married. So learn that. I thought that was very important. But even when you had written father, even if you had written mother, whether you had written dad or mom, I thought that was appropriate. You really didn't need to use so much of names here. Okay? But even when you used names, it was fine, so long as you added Mr. and Mrs. There are also other, let's say, other modal verbs that we could use, like might. You could say, might you be in position, or maybe, might you be in position of helping me with another pen, or borrowing me your pen, or an extra pen, something like that. Might you be in position to give me a hand in what I'm doing? You're being polite, but you're beginning with might. Instead of saying, can you give me a hand here? I think somewhere, somehow, you're a little commanding. Or come and give me a hand here. Go and do that. You see, every time you begin with such plain verbs, you're going to find yourself commanding. And it may not go so well with a person who really understands English language. So the modal verbs like the might, the may, sometimes they're really a little polite, especially when it comes to being polite. Then requests. I expected this dialogue to end, especially with the parents punishing you. But one thing I've realized, I think we are living in a more or less of a laissez-faire community, where parents can easily forgive their children and let them go away with what they've done. So, but remember that as much as this was more like an assumption, something that never happened, there are moral lessons that we must learn from this. So the parents, there are some people's parents who grounded them for a week, others were grounded for a day, others, their phones were taken away from them for 2 days, for a week. I liked the punishments. I did not care which punishment was given to you, but I expected serious parents to have punished you. Having come back late past midnight, by the whatever reason you had, however good and truthful it was, like you believed, the parents had to punish you. So I expected a punishment. Now, if I was going to award marks there, maybe for content, I should have expected a punishment. If you had no punishment, the parents didn't give you punishment, then you should have lost marks for content. So ensure that while you're reading this should be at least build you morally. Then at the end of it all, whether they have punished you or not, I expected an apology. Some of you just told your parents, good night. Oh, thank you so much, good night. You've forgiven me, thank you, good night. I mean, promise them, bring their trust back. Apologize, and then promise them that you never do that again. So I think that having said all that about the dialogue that we had, we can look at something else that I want us to look at today. But I thought it was very important because many times we write these for the sake, but a dialogue is very important. And I know in our lives, we shall always have the dialogues. Okay? So today we are going to look at what we call inversions. We're going to look at sentence inversion. Okay? This is paper 2. It's English language paper 2. It's grammar basically. So we're going to look at sentence inversion, and we will want to know why we normally maybe have to invert sentences. I mostly teach English language paper 1. But what I always tell my students that English language is a language, whether it is paper 1 or paper 2. What we teach in paper 2 must be borrowed or brought to paper 1 to make meaning and sense. Actually, even the words, the grammar we use is from paper 2. So you cannot differentiate, or you cannot say, the other one is paper 2, so me, I'm better in paper 1. I mean, no, I'm better in paper 2, I'm not good in paper 1. They all work together. They all go together. So you cannot separate them. So here we are saying, while we're looking at sentence inversions here, we need these sentence inversions when it comes to paper 1, especially in section B. Now you're going to see that why do we need to invert sentences? Sometimes I tell students that you need to exhibit some little bit of maturity in your work, in what you do, especially when it comes to language, English language. We have been studying English language, or some of us, we studied English language in P4, but many of us have studied English language since nursery. Even in our homes, we speak English language. But even since those who started in P4 up to where we are in year 4, the assumption is you should have matured in the language right now. You cannot speak, you cannot write the same way a P7 child writes or a P6 or P5 child writes. By senior 4, you must have matured. And maturing means that normally when we are looking at sentences, we shall look at, I told you this, I remember some time back. We have a subject plus a verb. Sometimes we add even object. But let's leave this out for now. Let's look at subject and verb. And what makes a subject? Normally what makes a subject are the nouns and the pronouns. The nouns and pronouns. Okay? So if you remember some senior 1 work about nouns and pronouns, you know that they make up the subject. Of course, the verb, these are actions. Okay? So the subject here, if I said Jane, Jane is a subject. If I said woman, woman is a subject. If I said father, father is a subject. And maybe what I've not used is the pronoun. If I said he, if I said she, if I said they. These are subjects. Now I add the verb. The verb is the word of action, of course, which can be transited into tenses, because tenses can show different levels in which a verb can be used. So here it could be, let's say, come. If it is he or she, we shall say comes. If it is they say they come, okay? Or they are, they come, something like that. But this is a verb, this is a subject. Now we are looking at sentence inversion. This is the normal way of writing the sentence. It is you follow subject and verb. That's why you say she is coming. That is why you will say he or he came yesterday. Because he came yesterday. You're changing come to came. Because this is a verb, okay? It can be changed into different tenses. But now we are saying today that how can we make sentence inversions? How can we change these sentences from the normal setting, from the normal way of writing sentence following subject plus verb? In most cases, when we want to put emphasis on the verb, we're going to find ourselves changing the inversion. And so we shall find ourselves now saying, we shall find this format where we shall say verb plus subject. Now imagine, initially we are saying Jane, maybe Jane came to our home yesterday. Okay? Jane came to our home yesterday. Woman came to our home yesterday. Father came back late yesterday. And he, like I have said. Now we want to change. Maybe the come will come here. And then maybe plus the subject, which is woman. But we're going to see how to go about it. We're going to have some examples, okay? But before we look at the examples, in most cases, there are words that help us to sustain this inversion. And we're going to look at words like not only. We're going to look at words like not only. We're going to look at words like no sooner. We're going to look at words like no sooner. We're going to look at words like hardly. Okay? We're going to look at words like barely. We're going to look at words like scarcely. And so on, as we shall see in our sentences. So if we are going to use words like not only, no sooner, hardly, barely, scarcely, they're going to help us in our sentence inversion. Now, how important are the sentence inversions? First of all, the sentence inversions, they help us to put emphasis on the words of action or the verbs that are being used in those sentences. We want you to understand that the most important now, what you need to understand most is the action that is being performed in that sentence that is constructed. Okay? However, when it comes to English language or in our writing, the sentence inversions, first of all, help us to show maturity in English language. And also, when it comes to paper one, especially composition language, composition writing, the sentence inversion help us to have sentence varieties. In most cases, we expect you to use various sentences. Now, you're not only going to stick to the normal way of subject-verb. It becomes boring if that is the only way. You're saying Tom went to their home, and when he reached there, this is what he did. After doing that, he went and doing. It becomes so bad. But what if you brought in some inversion? Hardly had Tom reached their home, then it started raining. So he decided to stay longer and wait until the rain stopped. Barely had he decided to do this, this is what happened. You understand? So they make the language more interesting. But besides that, when it comes to grammar, as a student at this level, we expect you to be in position to use these sentencing inversions. So let us look at these sentences. If we looked at these sentences, shall say, So here we are with 1, we are saying, not only does he sing in the school choir, but also in the church choir. Now remember that when you use not only, please, not only will always go with the, but also. You cannot use not only and go away with it without using not also. However, here our, our emphasis is on, of course, does there is a helping verb, but our emphasis is on the sing. Okay? The verb sing, the action of singing, that is where our emphasis is on. So that's why we are using that. Assuming we wanted to put it back in the normal, because this is a sentence inversion. If we wanted to put it back in our normal sentence, how would it be? Maybe it would be, he sings You could say that he sings in both the school and church choirs, or he sings in school and church choirs, and so on. Okay? But now when we are inverting it, we are saying that he does not only sing in one, but also the other. Let us look at the other when we are using hardly. We shall say, hardly had they started playing So we have there, hardly had they started playing football when it began to rain. Okay? Hardly had they started playing football when it began to rain. So it's just a few minutes that they had started. Okay? Or you know something that you've just started doing and then something else comes in. So here we have two activities that are taking place. The raining and then the starting of playing football. And so because we want to show you that these two things almost happened at the same time, so we are bringing in the sentence, we are using the sentence inversions. But our emphasis is on the action that happened in these sentences, or the actions that we are using, or the verbs that we are using in these sentences. If you wanted to change this, you try it out. If you wanted to change hardly had they started playing football when it started raining, in the other normal sentence, how would it be? You know? So maybe you could say they had just started playing football. They had just started playing football, full stop. It began to rain, or it began to rain. So there are two sentences, but now you're joining them and then you are inverting them. Then we have, we could use no sooner, we shall say, no sooner had he jumped over the fence than So there we are. No sooner had he jumped over the fence than he was met by the security guard. So here what we are interested in, the verb jumped, but of course it begins from had. And then here we are interested in this verb, okay? And then, so no sooner had he jumped over the fence than he was met by the security guard, okay? So this is very important, that it did not take this person time to meet the security guard. But immediately he had done it, so it happened. The security, as if he was there waiting for him, as if he had known that he was coming. So here, our emphasis is on the action that is being performed by the subject. Here, the subject is he, but we are interested in the action of jumping, the jumped. And no wonder we are putting emphasis on it. So like we have said that the sentence inversions here are going to help us to put emphasis on the action that is being performed in the sentences. You're going to realize that in the normal sentence structure, where we have subject and verb, most emphasis is put on the what? On the subject, the performer of the action. But here we want the people who are listening to us, the people who are maybe listening to what we are saying, or to what they are the ones who are reading, to see that we are putting emphasis on the verb, unlike the other normal sentence what? So we shall say, we are saying, we have another one here where we have 4. We are saying under no circumstances, will you, will he go, under no circumstances, will he go against the school regulations. So here we have will and then he go. So we are interested in the subject, sorry, we are interested in the verb go. And because we have will, the future tense will, which is helping us to make this one better, we shall say, under no circumstances will he go against the school regulations. In other words, he must, against all odds, he must keep the school regulations as they are without abusing them or going against them. So there we wanted to put emphasis on the going against, okay? The going, because against is not a verb, but the going against the school rules. That's why I wanted to put, not the he, because in the usual sentences, we normally put emphasis on the subject. For this case, we would put emphasis on he, because we say he will not go, maybe he will not go against the school rules and regulations, okay? If it was a normal sentence. But because it is a sentence inversion, we have used under no circumstances. And so never once, we could also have this, never once did he commit, never once did he commit murder. So here we have, we are looking at commit as our verb, but we have here our helping verb, the auxiliary as did. So here we are saying, that's why we are putting emphasis on commit. Never once did he commit murder. Has he ever committed murder? No. Never once has he committed murder. So which means he has never committed any murder. And so many others. We could use barely, we could use scarcely, and so many. But now I wanted us to look at very fast. I wanted us now to transit these sentences. Okay? We have some instructions here that are telling us to change, to rewrite beginning with the words in brackets, okay? To rewrite beginning with the words in brackets. You could also be trying it at home there. Rewrite beginning with words in brackets. Okay. We could be, let's say the words underlined. Underlined. So we are going to have one here, and we shall say, I had no sooner entered class than the teacher arrived. Look at this sentence carefully, and they are telling us that this is the underlined word, which meaning that we are going to rewrite beginning with the words underlined. I had no sooner entered class than the teacher arrived. How would this one be? How would we rewrite it? We would say, remember they've told us to begin with the no sooner. We would say, no sooner had the teacher it is I. No sooner had I entered class than the teacher arrived. Now, if you look at sentence 1, I had no sooner entered the class. Now, here the most important thing is I. I had no sooner entered class than the teacher arrived. No sooner had I entered class or the class than the teacher arrived. So here when you say no sooner had I entered, now here for us our emphasis is on the verb. Okay? The verb phrase. That is where our emphasis is on. Unlike in the first sentence where the emphasis is on the subject, the doer of the action. Let us look at sentence 2. He did not once doubt that education can lead So here we are. He did not once doubt that education can lead to a better life. They have underlined for us the word not once. So we are expected here to begin with not once. How would it be? I hope you are busy at home trying out this. It doesn't matter even if you try out and fail, because we are learning together. And this is grammar. You need to practice. Without practice, you can't perfect. Okay? So we are saying that if our sentence is, he did not once doubt that education can lead to a better life. So we are beginning with not once. We shall say, not once did he doubt that education can lead to a better life. Not once did he doubt that education can lead to a better life. Remember, still our emphasis is on the verb doubt. Doubt, doubting, doubted. Okay? So there we are. There's this interesting one. 3. It is here. Okay? And so they have challenged us with that. They have told us it is here. It is here. So they have told us that we should begin with here. How do you think it should be if we were supposed to start with here in our inversion? It is very simple. We shall come and say, here it is. As simple as that. Now you're going to find people having challenges with this. Okay? People have challenges with this. And maybe they would say, here is it, you know, instead of saying here it is. Maybe we could have 2 more. 2 more. Time is not our best ally. We shall say the soldiers dived into the sea like dolphins. Like dolphins. So we have into as our words to begin with. The soldiers dived into the sea like dolphins. Now, assuming we wanted to invert it, how would it be? We shall say, into the sea, the soldiers dived like dolphins. So there we are putting emphasis onto the child felt so terrified of being left alone in the house that it started screaming. So the child felt so terrified. Now we are beginning with so terrified. I hope you're trying this at home. Okay? And we are saying the child felt so terrified of being left alone in the house that it started screaming. Have you finished trying it out? Okay, let us try this one as the last example. So we shall say, so terrified the child felt of being left alone in the house that It started screaming. Remember that even when you're looking at sentence inversion, do not forget the use of so. The moment you use so, you must use that. However, here we are more interested in the verb felt. So let us just have the question to attempt. And it goes, this is our exercise. Or task. Construct 10 sentences using sentence inversion. So you could use any of the no sooner, you could use barely, you could use scarcely, you could use hardly, all those that we have looked at and those that we have known today. My email where you can send the work is mnanyonjo. Where is clearer? Let me put it here. Maybe this would be clearer. mnanyonjo 1987 at gmail.com. So that is it. Just construct 10 sentences using sentence inversion. We have seen some of the examples of those words that we can use when we are inverting these sentences. So please go ahead and use them, and so that you can send on my email for marking. Thank you so much for today's lesson. Thank you for being good students. Have a good day.
Somera MUDDIIRO lyo ng'ewagiddwa Maryland High School erisangibwa Entebbe. Ssomero ly'abawala n'abalenzi tusomesa arts and sciences okuviira ddala ku siniya esooka okutuukira ddala ku siniya ey'omukaaga nga lisangibwa mu kifo ekiweweevu obulungi. Tulina ebisuula eby'omulembe, science laboratory, ssaako ne computer lab wamu ne bw'osomeseza omwana wo mu masomero